The college football season is pretty much in the books, but transfer portal season is just starting to heat up. And I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for where I feel the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal are going to land. We're going to start off with Cam Ward. He entered the transfer portal. He's transferring from Washington State. I got him going to Ohio State. Kyle McCord just hit the portal. Cam Ward, he fits the bill for what Ryan Day wants out of his quarterbacks. He has great size, a strong arm, really accurate in the short intermediate passing game, and he possibly could be the second best quarterback that Ryan Day has had behind C.J. Stroud. I would take Cameron Ward over Justin Fields. He's a more polished passer. He's better at reading defenses than what Justin Fields was during his time at Ohio State, and he would be a tremendous upgrade over Kyle McCord. Cam Ward, if you're looking for a staff that can develop you and help you become a first-round draft pick, Ohio State is the place to go. You're going to be playing in the toughest conference or one of these toughest conferences in college football. You're going to get coached by one of the best offensive minds in the sport. I just think that him going to Ohio State makes perfect sense. You know that the money's going to be there for him as well. There was some reports saying that he's looking for a $1 million NIL deal. If that is true, you definitely can be assured that he's going to receive that with Ohio State. Plus, you're going to have one of the best rosters in America. You're also going to have a talented group of wide receivers to throw the football to. This is a perfect situation for Cam Ward to not only get a lot of money, but in the process, he can improve his draft stock and potentially be a first-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Dante Moore, he was a highly touted quarterback in last year's recruiting cycle. He ended up flipping from Oregon to play for Chip Kelly and UCLA, and it didn't work out so well for him. I believe that Wisconsin would be a great place for him. A lot of you guys are probably going to disagree with that. You're going to be like, JT, Wisconsin? Why the hell would he play for Wisconsin? Well, Wisconsin, when they hired Luke Fickell, he changed his offensive philosophy. Now they run the air raid style offense. And Dante Moore, if you're looking for a school that you can transfer to and have the opportunity to start right away, Wisconsin is definitely the place to do that at. And Dante Moore, he has a lot of potential. Yeah, he looked really bad his true freshman season at UCLA, but how much of that was due to Dante Moore just not being that great and Chip Kelly just losing a little bit of his touch when it comes to his play calling on offense? I would say it was a concerted effort. Dante Moore is a really good athlete, has a great arm, and when he was coming out of high school, I thought that he was a bigger version of Bryce Young or Russell Wilson. You give him to Luke Fickell behind a really good Wisconsin offensive line, an improved group of wide receivers, because Wisconsin also is going to improve the wide receiving corps as well. This is going to be a really good offense, and with Dante Moore at the helm, they possibly could be a sleeper pick to win the Big Ten next year. They're going to have a great defense. All they really need is a quarterback. They had Tanner Mordecai, who they picked up out of the transfer portal last year. He dealt with some injuries this season. Dante Moore, if you can bring this kid in and you can give him the proper coaching and development that he needs, he's good enough to have Wisconsin competing for the top of the Big Ten. For you to be able to win in the Big Ten in 2024, you're going to need good quarterback play. And Dante Moore definitely could give that to Wisconsin. Luke Fickell has a pretty good coaching staff. All they really need is a quarterback. And with the upside and potential that Dante Moore has, I don't see why you wouldn't take a gamble on that if you're Luke Fickell. And Dante Moore, why go to a school like Ohio State where you may have to compete for the starting job, where you go to Wisconsin, that thing is pretty much given to you. Next up, I got Will Howard. I have him transferring to my Miami Hurricanes. I would love to see Will Howard playing for the Hurricanes. Tyler Van Dyke was previously the starter for Miami at QB, and he was really inconsistent. Will Howard has been the starting quarterback of Kansas State for the previous 2 years. He led them to the Big 12 title in 2022, and he has a lot of similarities to Dak Prescott. He has a pretty good arm. He makes really smart decisions with the football. There was a stretch during this season when he was a little bit streaky, and they ended up running a 2-quarterback system with him and this other freshman quarterback that they had, but he still got the majority of the snaps. And during the second half of the season, he played a lot better than what he did early on during the season. Miami, you need a quarterback that can take care of the football. Mario Cristobal doesn't need nothing flashy. He doesn't need a Dante Moore. He doesn't need a Riley Leonard. He doesn't need a true dual threat quarterback. Will Howard, he is a dual threat. And when you look at his rushing numbers, they really are surprising. He also has a couple of touchdowns on the ground that he scored this past year. And when you look at him and his playing style, you would think that he's one of those traditional drop back pocket passer quarterbacks. But he's actually pretty good when he decides to tuck the football and run. He just isn't a quarterback that's going to have blazing 40, 50 yards downfield or blazing 40, 50-yard runs downfield when he's going to be burning defenders. He's one of those guys that he has enough mobility to pick up 10, maybe 15 yards if you give him a run lane and he can make you pay. But overall, you got a really solid quarterback that has experience being a starter. He's played in big games. This is a perfect fit for Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. And they also got the money to make it happen. They got one of the richest NIL donors in all of college football. So there's no reason why this realistically doesn't have a chance at happening. Now, he's also been linked to USC and Lincoln Riley, but I think that they got another good quarterback lurking in the wings. I just think it makes more sense for him to go to Miami. This is a school that desperately needs a quarterback, and Miami, to me, is a quarterback away from being a contender for the ACC next season. So if they can get Will Howard, he will be a great addition for the Canes. The Canes got a pretty good offensive line. They got a young, talented group of wide receivers that needs to be more consistent. But overall, he'll have all the pieces necessary to be successful. And Shannon Dawson is a pretty good offensive coordinator. I think him and the Hurricanes would be a perfect fit. Dillon Gabriel, he transferred out of Oklahoma, which was really surprising to me because, yeah, he would have been in a quarterback battle, but I still believe that he would have won it out due to how well he's played this season for Oklahoma. He can be a little streaky at times, but this is one of the better quarterbacks in college football, and he recently took a visit to Oregon. A lot of reports say that he most likely is going to transfer to Oregon, and I have him projected to go to Oregon myself. You look at how good of a staff Dan Lanning has assembled on the offensive side of the football. Will Stein is one of the best up-and-coming offensive minds in the game. He probably is going to be a head coach sooner rather than later. Dillon Gabriel had a really good season with Oklahoma when, at one point, he was a Heisman candidate. So you put them on Oregon with how deep they are at wide receiver and how good their offensive line is. You feel really good about their chances of them being able to get into the 12-team college football playoffs in 2024. And he's one of the best quarterbacks out there. He's a top 3 quarterback in the transfer portal, in my opinion. I don't think there's too many quarterbacks in the portal right now that have the kind of resume and track record that Dillon Gabriel has. Not just dating back to his tenure with Oklahoma, but he also was really good for UCF. And if my memory serves me correctly, he came in when Mackenzie Milton went down with a major injury, and he was even better than what Milton was at one point, in my opinion. So Dillon Gabriel going to Oregon, that would be a huge pickup for Dan Lanning and his staff, and it would be a perfect fit. And I don't get why he transferred out of Oklahoma. Brent Venables even said that, you know, he was welcome to stay. Yeah, he would have had to compete, but I would have felt pretty confident about him winning the starting job just based on what he's done, being able to lead Oklahoma to big wins. And this is the best season that Oklahoma has had in the last couple of years, and Dillon Gabriel was a big catalyst for it. I got him going to Oregon. Aiden Childs, he originally committed to Jonathan Smith in last year's recruiting cycle to Oregon State. Jonathan Smith is now with Michigan State, so it only makes sense for Aiden Childs to transfer to Michigan State along with Jonathan Smith. This dude, I watched him in the spring game. We didn't really see too much of him during the regular season for Oregon State because DJ Uiagalelei was the starting quarterback. But when I watched him play in the spring game last year, this dude was really impressive. Great athleticism, really good at extending plays. He has a live arm. I'm betting a lot of money that he probably follows Jonathan Smith to Michigan State. I can't really see him going elsewhere. Riley Leonard, Notre Dame has been the popular landing spot for him. That's where I got him going also. I don't think he's too much better than what Sam Hartman is. He has a really good arm. He isn't the greatest passer. He's not a bad passer, but I do think that he needs to be a little bit more refined if he wants to end up being a high draft pick in the NFL. And going to Notre Dame definitely could help him accomplish that. They got a pretty good staff there. He's going to be throwing behind one of the best offensive lines in college football. And they got a lot of talent at wide receiver that a lot of people don't know about. Riley Leonard, he also is a really good athlete, so he's going to be an upgrade from Sam Hartman in that department. Sam Hartman, yeah, he was able to pick up a couple of yards here and there with his legs, but Riley Leonard, he's a really incredible dual threat quarterback, one of the best in college football when he's fully healthy. Plus, he has good size, so you can use him on design quarterback sneaks. If you want to do the tush push on the goal line, if you want to do quarterback power with Riley Leonard, you can do that also. Zone reads, read options. Riley Leonard would tremendously open up that Notre Dame playbook, and he will bring a different dimension to that offense that they haven't had in a very long time. He probably will be the most athletic quarterback that they've had since Ian Book? And Ian Book wasn't even all that athletic. So you get Riley Leonard in there, I think that Notre Dame, they possibly would be just as good next season as what they were this past season with Sam Hartman at quarterback. Maybe even better with the upside that you get out of Riley Leonard when it comes to what he can do on the ground. And plus, this is somebody that isn't a finished product. He isn't somebody that's been in college football for 100 years like how Sam Hartman is. So there's still a lot of room to develop for him. He's going to Notre Dame. That's my prediction. Kyle McCord, I got him going to Nebraska. Matt Rule said that it costs $1 million to get a top-end quarterback in the transfer portal, and I'm pretty sure that they're not going to have the kind of money necessary to get a Cam Ward or a Will Howard. But Kyle McCord wouldn't it be too bad of a pickup for the Cornhuskers. I think that he is a little bit overhated. Yeah, he wasn't as good as what the past Buckeye quarterbacks have been. C.J. Stroud, Justin Fields, all have been miles better than Kyle McCord. Can't forget about Dwayne Haskins also, but he wasn't terrible. He led Ohio State to a game-winning drive against Notre Dame on the road. Against Michigan, yeah, he wasn't good, but you can't put all of that Ohio State loss on him. Well, that Michigan loss on him, because the offensive line didn't really do him any favors. Going to Nebraska gives him a chance to reset his career. He's going to have a new coaching staff, a pretty solid coaching staff. I don't think Nebraska's offensive coordinator is bad. It's just that the quarterback situation that they had to deal with last year was terrible. You had Jeff Sims. You had a couple of other guys who you were throwing in there. You just couldn't find any consistency there. Kyle McCord, he wouldn't be good enough to get Nebraska to the Big Ten championship, but he would be good enough to have Nebraska bowl eligible. I think Kyle McCord is a pretty solid athlete. He's not a dynamic runner with the ball, but he can move around, extend plays here and there, maybe pick up 5-6 yards on the ground when things break down. And, his decision-making isn't that bad neither. He does need a little bit more work when it comes to being more proficient as a passer. But with Nebraska, I think that this is a match made in heaven. You got a chance to turn around the program that's been down for the last couple of years. The expectations aren't going to be that high. When you're playing at a school like Ohio State, there's a certain level of play that Buckeye fans expect from you. And Kyle McCord, when you look at his stats from 2023 this past season, they're not that bad. Most quarterbacks that throw 20-plus touchdowns, you will view them as one of the better QBs in college football. But with the fact that Kyle McCord didn't play well against Michigan, and he's at a school like Ohio State that consistently gets high-level quarterback play, it was going to be pretty hard for him to live up to the high expectations that C.J. Stroud left. And it was going to be hard for him to fill those shoes. So going to a school like Nebraska where the expectations aren't that high and the attention isn't really that big neither when you think about where Nebraska has been as a football program, that's the perfect place for Kyle McCord to resume his college football career. And this dude isn't bad. Okay, he's not trash. He's not terrible. He's not great, but I would take Kyle McCord over a handful of other quarterbacks out there that have been starting in the Big Ten this year. This conference has had some of the worst quarterback play in all of college football this past season. You bring in Kyle McCord, this dude is probably a top 4, top 5 quarterback at minimum in the conference going into 2024. Will Rogers, I got him going to Washington, playing for head coach Kalen DeBoer. He has a lot of familiarity with Kalen DeBoer's system. He has spent the last couple of years starting for Mississippi State, and he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC ever since he first took over at the helm at QB for Mike Leach before he unfortunately passed away. He has a lot of production, over 12,000 passing yards, 94 touchdowns, only 28 interceptions, 3-year starter. So you're going to have somebody who can come in, fill the shoes of Michael Penix perfectly because you're going to have the experience. You're going to have somebody that has been in big games, and this is going to be the best situation that Will Rogers has ever had. He's never had the team as talented as what he potentially could be inheriting if he were to transfer to Washington State. You're also going to have a great coaching staff. Their offensive coordinator is really good also. Nick Saban wanted their offensive coordinator, but he ended up going back to Washington. So Will Rogers, he will be receiving top-notch coaching, and it could be good enough to improve his draft stock. If he were to declare for the NFL draft right now, he probably would be a 6th or 7th round selection. Going to a school like Washington where they're really deep at wide receiver, they got a good offensive line, and the coaching is going to be top-notch, will be a great place for him to put himself in that first-round conversation because I like Will Rogers' game. He's not really super athletic, but he has a good arm. I think he's pretty accurate with the football, and playing for Kalen DeBoer is going to be able to bring the best out of him. I think that this is a perfect match. Will Rogers in Washington. Dquan Finn, probably one of the more underrated quarterback names in the transfer portal that not too many people know about. But if you were to watch him play for Toledo over the last couple of years, this dude is probably one of the best G5 quarterbacks in college football. And he's the best G5 quarterback in the portal right now. And I would take him over Grayson McCall. At Toledo, he had 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 2023. He led them to the MAC championship. He also is a dynamic athlete with the ball in his hands. He had 463 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. And he's rumored to run somewhere between a 4.3 and a 4.4. Going to Hugh Freeze at Auburn, where they desperately need a good quarterback. Peyton Thorne, he's not it. Robbie Ashford, he doesn't look like he's going to be it neither. You give Hugh Freeze a guy with the talent of Dquan Finn, and Auburn potentially could make a lot of noise next season with this dude at quarterback. Not a lot of people know how good this dude truly is because he played in the MAC, and let's be honest, unless you're a fan of one of those MAC teams, you weren't really paying a lot of attention to Dquan Finn. But if you watch this dude's highlights, he's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in college football, and he reminds me a lot of Malik Cunningham. For those of you guys who remember Malik Cunningham at Louisville, he was Lamar Jackson's replacement when he declared for the draft, and he had a pretty good career at Louisville. Dquan Finn has a lot of similarities to him. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he has a good enough arm strength that he can make the majority of throws necessary that you need him to make. His accuracy has improved every single season that he's been the starter at Toledo. And with Hugh Freeze, an innovative offensive mind, and the SEC with the talent that he could have around him potentially, this is somebody who could blow up, and he's a name that not too many people are paying attention to. Tyler Van Dyke, former Miami Hurricanes quarterback. I got him transferring to Mississippi State, playing for a new head coach, Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby, he could be the perfect guy to get Tyler Van Dyke playing at the level that a lot of people thought that he would play at prior to last season starting with Miami. You see, the problem with Tyler Van Dyke is that he's really inconsistent. He struggles to see the field, and he can get really reckless with the football at times. But when he's on, this dude is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the game. Go back and watch that game that he had against Texas A&M. He shredded that defense up. When you can get him in rhythm, and you can get him being calm and relaxed and poised in the pocket, this is a great quarterback. He has a rifle for an arm, great size. He isn't incredibly mobile, but he does have enough athleticism that he can extend a couple of plays here and there. He can pick up some yards on the ground, maybe 5 or 6 if you give him a running lane maybe. But going to Jeff Lebby is really going to be the perfect situation to have Tyler Van Dyke playing up to his potential. This dude has had a really roller coaster of a career up to this point. His freshman season, he came in replace of De'Aaron King, and he was lightning in a bottle. He looked like he was going to be the next great Miami Hurricanes quarterback. If he would have played the whole entire season when he first was in as a freshman at Miami, he was on pace for 40 touchdowns as a freshman. And then after that, things just went downhill. He's battled with injuries as well. Jeff Lebby could be the perfect head coach who could unlock the full potential of Tyler Van Dyke. He's one of the more highly regarded offensive minds in the sport. Many people have a lot of good things to say about him. He's worked with Lane Kiffin. He was pretty good calling plays for Oklahoma. Tyler Van Dyke and Jeff Lebby, it would be a perfect pairing. You're going to have a young offensive-minded coach that's looking to find his quarterback, and you're going to have a young quarterback that's looking to find a head coach who can unlock his potential and have him playing at a high level. This is somebody who, not too long ago, was projected to be a first-round pick in the NFL. So if you can get him playing back at that level that he was when he first came on the scene for Miami as a freshman, Mississippi State could be a really interesting team in 2024 if they get Tyler Van Dyke and Jeff Lebby can have this dude playing up to his potential. Lastly, I got DJ Uiagalelei. I think it's common sense that he'll transfer to Florida State. There also has been some reports that say that Louisville is also really interested in his services as well. This may be the most weirdest quarterback that I've ever watched in all my years watching college football. I've never seen a quarterback look this bad, looking this good as well. And I know it sounds weird how I worded it, but if you watch this dude play, you will understand what I mean by that. He doesn't make a lot of great decisions at times. Sometimes he just looks like he's just out there throwing the football. Going to FSU, however, with one of the best coaching staffs in college football, I really believe that they can give DJ Uiagalelei the development that he needs to make him a fully well-rounded quarterback. He has a great arm. He's a really great athlete, especially with his size and how difficult he is to bring down in the open field. All he really needs to do is improve his decision-making. His decision-making and accuracy can be really erratic at times, and he's the best bad quarterback that I've ever watched in all my years watching college football. He's not bad. He's not good. He's I don't know. At times, he can be great. At times, he can be really bad, like in the second half against Washington. So he's a really weird quarterback. I really don't know how I feel about DJ Uiagalelei. All I know is that he's good enough to be a good replacement for Jordan Travis, because after what I saw out of Tate Rodemaker against Florida and whoever that other random quarterback was that they had in against Louisville in the ACC championship, they aren't better than DJ Uiagalelei. And if Florida State can't get one of these big-name QBs in the portal, such as a Will Howard, a Dante Moore, a Dylan Gabriel, or a Cam Ward, DJ Uiagalelei wouldn't be too bad, especially with how good Mike Norvell's coaching staff is. They can develop this dude and have this dude playing at his highest potential or his highest ceiling in a sense, because I still don't think that DJ Uiagalelei has reached his ceiling. You see, when he first started in place of Trevor Lawrence, when he had to miss a game due to injury, this dude looked like he was going to be the next great Clemson quarterback. Then when he was the full-time starter for Clemson, the offensive line, the play calling held him back. He also wasn't that great himself. He goes to Oregon State. He had a pretty good season this past year with Jonathan Smith. Could have been a lot better if his accuracy and decision-making were to improve. FSU could be the perfect place to have DJ Uiagalelei playing at his highest level. And like I said earlier, we haven't seen this dude play his best football yet. So I love to see DJ Uiagalelei playing for Florida State this year. I feel like there's still a lot of potential that he has that has yet to be unleashed. And FSU could be the perfect school to bring it out of him. But this is it for my transfer portal quarterback predictions. Let me know your predictions for where you think these quarterbacks are going to transfer to down in the comment section down below.